Hey guys, Steinixos here. So today we'll be speaking about the Ito Itonomi Devil Fruit. Specifically, we'll be discussing what a fully mastered and unrestricted Ito Itonomi Devil Fruit could look like. Now, as you all probably already know, the Ito Itonomi is the string or thread paramecia type devil fruit. And thus what this means is that upon consumption of this devil fruit, the user becomes a string human who is able to create and manipulate strings. Now, on a personal level, I have always enjoyed string manipulation powers ever since I was introduced to the Helsing family butler, Walter C. Dornez. And with the introduction of the heavenly demon, Don Quixote do Flamingo, this fascination was just taken to another level. And I mean honestly, Do Flamingo has already demonstrated himself to be a very proficient user of his string powers. I mean, from doing things like making multiple string clones of himself, using his strings to stitch up damage done to his internal organs, controlling the majority of the royal army across all of Dressrosa as if they were mere puppets, and even just turning the environment to strings. Like with all of these feats under his belt, it is pretty hard to imagine what additional level of mastery there could be for a user of the Ito Itonomi. But that's exactly what we'll be speaking about in this video, so let's get right into it. So with any string manipulation power, the most basic thing that must be analyzed first is the user's proficiency in the creation and control of string constructs. So as we have already alluded to, Do Flamingo is able to create and control perfect copies of himself through the utilization of his strings. Now this is pretty much already the ceiling of this category, with the only thing theoretically being above it would be the ability to create sentient string clones that he does not have to manually control through direct puppetry, somewhat similar to the autonomous nature of Big Mom homies like Zeus and Prometheus. However, I bring up this fact just to remind you that given Do Flamingo's mastery in the creation of string constructs, he could also create any other thing that he feels like. For example, weapons such as a string spear, as well as a string axe, such as seen done by the string user Luba from Akame ga Kill, or even a string armor to help bolster his defense and attack power, as seen done by Ryunosuke Akutagawa's Rashomon from Bungo Stray Dogs. As a matter of fact, like Ryunosuke's Rashomon, he could even create his own string monster, which is somewhat similar to Akaino's Magma Dog. And don't forget, even though Do Flamingo mainly uses his strings to slice things apart or to pierce his enemies, he could always use his strings in a way that's a bit more precise. We see this for example with Luba, who, after piercing his enemy with one of his string constructs, such as his string spear, he's able to manipulate the strings that have now gained entry inside the opponent's body to wrap around their vital organs, such as the heart, and then casually just slice it into pieces. And again, note, this level of mastery should be child's play for Do Flamingo, given that he is already able to use his strings with such a level of precision that he is able to fly in the sky by attaching his strings to the individual water droplets within the clouds, and during a fight is even able to perform emergency stitching of his own internal organs. So even current Do Flamingo already has this category in the bag, much less our unrestricted Ito Itonomi user. Now, as we climb this ladder of mastery of the unrestricted Ito Itonomi, the next obvious thing seems to be that at full mastery, the string fruit user must be able to utilize strings that have different properties. And it seems like Oda may have been flirting with this concept when he introduced the attack Goshikito, or better known as pentachromatic or 5-colored strings. Now unfortunately, Oda decided to restrict this to just another slashing attack. However, we will be using this as our basis for our fully mastered string fruit that has strings of different properties. So for example, the yellow string could have the property of fire, and this is already an ability that Ito Itonomi provides, as seen with Do Flamingo's excess whip string, better known as overheat. Also, the red thread, like Ijuna's red ether thread from Eden Zero, could be a thread that affects emotions, where when first bound, causes two individuals to fall in love, but when broken, causes the love to change to hate, thus resulting in the individuals fighting each other. And note, a colored string having this property of affecting emotions isn't even far-fetched for the One Piece world, given that you have characters like Miss Golden Week, who utilizes a colored paint-based hypnosis that is not even a devil fruit power, where with green paint for example, she makes a person feel calm, yellow paint forces them to laugh uncontrollably, and black paint causes them to betray their friends. So make no mistake, even in verse, there are already ways for Doflamingo strings to have different properties. And if we were chasing the absolute top of mastery, then we could add even string colors such as black. And we see where, like Ryunosuke's Rashimon's Black String Beast construct, the user is even able to erase space itself. So again, the utilization of strings of different properties can go pretty crazy. Now, before we thread this needle any further, we need to speak about paramecias. You see, the paramecia category is actually a pretty weird category because of the diversity of powers that it allows. And because of this diversity, the paramecia category is where Oda applies the majority of restrictions, a lot of which are seemingly arbitrary, just for the sake of plot. And thus, specific to this video about the string fruit is a restriction I'm guessing that you've no doubt already thought about. That is, why is it that Doflamingo cannot turn his body to strings? I mean, obviously, paramecias who don't produce a tangible substance, like Kuma the Deflection Man or Law the Modification Man, can't turn into those things. So you wouldn't compare Doflamingo to them. Rather, take a look at similar paramecias like Katakuri, who produce mochi and thus can turn his body to mochi. But wait, no, Katakuri is a special paramecia and mochi is semi-solid, so of course he gets a pass. Alright, then what about paramecias like Jozu, who can turn his body to diamond, and Mr. Wanda's Bones, who can turn his body to blades? Those guys are normal paramecias and are solid, yet they can turn their body into their respective paramecia substance rather than just producing them. Well, yes Stein, that's true, but let's just make a special exception for abilities like those. They are different from Doflamingo somehow. Okay, then what about Bellamy, the spring human, who can turn parts of his body into springs? Or better yet, the closest example we have, Basil Hawkins, who ate the straw fruit and is able to turn himself into a giant monster made of straw. Like, straw is pretty close to strings in terms of morphology. So by now, I'm hoping you've started to understand how arbitrary some of these restrictions are. And thus, for our unrestricted and fully mastered string fruit, the string user would be able to turn their body into strings, similar to Jolene Kujo from the JoJo series. And of course, this opens many further use case possibilities, anywhere from being able to hide in someone's mouth while being in string form, and with creativity, up to the formation of the infamous string-based Mobius strip, as seen done by Jolene. Now, we could just stop here, and with everything that's already been said, I'm fairly certain that you already understand that this devil fruit is a pretty impressive one when unrestricted with a high level of mastery. However, if we ended it there, I'd be doing you a disservice. Because you see, the restrictions placed on the Ito Itonomy are not only arbitrary, but it is actually far worse than that. You see, Oda lied to you. Well, maybe not lie, but rather kind of just misled you a bit. You see, Doflamingo was actually the first character to show us a paramecia awakening in earnest. And as he explains, it is when the user's abilities is able to affect things separate from the user themselves. So for a paramecia like his that produces a tangible substance, they change the environment to their substance, which for him is obviously strings. And for Katakuri the Mochi Man, the environment obviously changes to mochi. Makes sense, right? But this is where that little lie, or rather misdirection, comes in. Because you see, in one of the specific unified theories of everything in physics, the fundamental building blocks of everything in the universe, and and the universe itself is actually strings. That's right, we are talking about string theory. Now, there is a pretty good 2.5-minute video done by famous physicist Brian Greene that explains string theory simply with immaculate visuals. I'll leave a link to this in the description down below, but suffice it to say, if we were to assume that string theory was actually true, and we can assume this because this is anime and or unrestricted video, then Oda's lie or misdirection would be that Doflamingo's awakening changed the environment to strings. That is a misdirection because unlike Katakuri, for example, where we know that the ground was not actually mochi before he changed it into mochi, with Doflamingo in a string theory world, everything at a fundamental level was already string in the first place. So Doflamingo's or unrestricted Ito Itonomi user's true awakening now becomes the ability to manipulate the most fundamental building blocks of the universe itself. This quite literally puts Doflamingo in the very realm of a god. Now obviously, there aren't many string ability users who have this level of control. The closest string or thread related ability that I have seen to this is Urahara's Bankai, which allows him to restructure anything it touches. From a string theory basis, when Urahara breaks down Askin's arm, for example, that would be him releasing the fundamental strings which it was composed of and held it together in the first place. And when he puts something back together, you'll note he uses visible strings. So hopefully that allows you to understand just the tip of the iceberg of how this concept could be applied to our Ito Itonomi user. And it would have been such an interesting addition to the One Piece world, given Oda's fascination with other physics concepts. I mean, for example, he constantly has Kizaru referencing the force equal mass times acceleration physics equation through Kizaru's dialogues such as speed is weight and acceleration is power.
Hawkins, speed is weight. Observe. This is what it feels like to be kicked at the speed of light.
As well as through Vegapunk's various inventions, such as his light pressure glove that allows the user to interact with light particles, that is, photons, as if they were solid, as well as his teleportation device that is even able to bend space-time as a mere malfunction. I mean, even Vegapunk himself is based on Albert Einstein, one of the most famous physicists in history. So from every perspective, incorporating string theory into the Ito Itonomi's power would have not only fit, but would have added a new layer to the importance of science within the series. But you see, the Ito Itonomi goes even deeper, because at a metaphysical level, it is often suggested, such as in Black Clover, that there is a red thread of fate that binds together even destiny itself. And a person who is able to control these threads, like Vanessa from Black Clover, is able to even rewrite the outcome of an event to something more favorable for the user. And as such, with the addition of the red thread of fate being under our fully mastered and unrestricted Ito Itonomi user, they now have full control of both the physical and metaphysical world. Now by now, I'm hoping you fully understand just how powerful an unrestricted and fully mastered Ito Itonomi Devil Fruit could be. But anyway, that's the video guys. Let me know what you thought about it in the comment section down below. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe. But anyway, see you guys next time.